This is Ashley Hodge with the Sikkim 365 podcast, and I'm previewing Gonzaga Baylor with Jason King. We've been embedded in Indianapolis for 8 days, 7 days. I mean, it's been a while. It seems like our second home by now.
I'm feeling it as I look into this mirror here, and whatever this is, this screen. I mean, I think the 4 trips to the Eagle and 3 to Babo's Pizza and a beer or 17. Starting to catch up with me, man. I'm gonna have to get back in the gym after this, but it's been fun. I mean, I've always said I've always thought Indy was a little overrated for Tournament City, but I take that opinion back now. I've had a great time here. Yeah. Obviously, there was more people, but there's still been enough to make it a really good time, and a lot of good Baylor fans up here support their team.
Yeah, we got to talk about that meal we had the other night just for a second. Tony's, oh my gosh, I'm still thinking about that.
Since then, about every hour since then, I've just had a moment where I've just sat back and paused and appreciated what a great meal that was. I keep thinking about it. We went to Tony's Steakhouse, which I'd never heard of.
Right
here in Indianapolis. Apparently, there's a couple of them. I don't know what cities they're in, but it was one of the best steakhouse meals I've been to. I've had. And I've been to most of the big Vegas steakhouses. I like to do that when I go to Vegas and other cities. But man, this ranked right up there. Everything from the hostess that sat us to the waiters and the waitresses to the bread they brought out before the meal to the crab cake to the shrimp cocktail to the wedge salad to the steak. I mean, it was just phenomenal. And I even thought about going back around 5 o'clock today before the game, but I think that would put me to sleep.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Well, and you and I were with Donald and Wade for that one, and then last night I went to the library with David Smoke and Drake and that same crew. That was a good meal too. So we've eaten some good food, and then of course
I don't understand what you were eating there. You sent me the menu and it looked a little odd to me, but you said it was tremendous.
I got the guacamole. It was Latin American food. I got the guacamole. I got the skirt steak, and the dessert was like a flan and was it graham cracker ice cream. Oh man, it was good. That dessert was unbelievable, and the drinks. I mean, in the company, it was a nice vibe. Really cool place. But I'm sure most people tune into don't want to hear our food opinions. They want to hear about Gonzaga Baylor. This is the matchup we've been waiting for. You and I were in the lobby of the JW Marriott in December and so excited for that matchup. And then it got canceled at the last minute. And that was kind of a depressing day. We watched Baylor football lose that night, so it was just an all around bummer. But here we are, 3 months later, 4 months later, and we're going to see that matchup in person. And I mean, what an incredible storyline for these two programs. Just the 2-year run that these two programs have had is incredible. For Baylor fans, it's kind of nostalgic because we hope that we win the game, but it's kind of sad to see this, nucleus play their last games in a Baylor uniform. And so I just hope, the fans appreciate all that this team has meant to us over the years. And we've covered them closely. We followed the ride from beginning to end, both seasons. What are some of your thoughts as we enter into this matchup tonight, Jason?
You're right. I mean, I'm kind of sad about it in a way. I mean, everyone should be happy, and I am happy that they're playing in the championship. But I probably should just savor this moment before looking too far ahead. But meaning all these guys being gone, because I do hate that this is the last time we're going to see Davion and Vital and probably Butler and Teague and the nucleus. And it's just been such a great 2 years. And, I saw Freddie and Devontae Bandu last night as well. And I mean, I've said it before, just from a media standpoint, having done this for 20 years, I can't remember ever covering a team that had this many or that just had a locker room full of this many great people, character-wise, that were all on the same page, that represented the school the right way. There's not one bad seed, bad apple in that locker room all the way up to the coaches. And I think that's the reason why, along with a lot of talent, that they're having so much success. But just a joy. They like to use the culture of joy, Jesus, others, yourself. I just thought about joy in general, joy to cover. I mean, joy to be around. I mean, such a great spirit. There's a picture of Vital yesterday from the game the other night. He had one of the worst games of his season, 2 points, 1 rebound, foul trouble, which has kind of plagued him in the whole tournament. Yeah, you would think that after the fourth or fifth straight game of that, he would be frustrated, maybe some bad body language. There's this picture of him hugging Mark Patterson after the game, and I mean, it just radiates energy and happiness and joy. And that, to me, that's what really encapsulates him and encapsulates this team. Is he doesn't care that he scored 2 points. I mean, he's happy for his teammate Mark Patterson getting that basket. He's happy they're moving on. It's not about him. And maybe 4 years ago he wouldn't have been that way, but it just shows how the culture of this program can change someone, and it's really all just kind of crescendoing at just the right time.
Yeah, it's I've been able to spend some time with some of the parents and families while we've been in Indianapolis for so long. The Mitchells, the Butlers, the Teagues, and just great people. And certainly Zach Loveday met his parents for the first time. I talked to his dad on the phone for a long time during the recruitment, but they just talked about how thrilled they were that Zach was at Baylor, and how he's improving and getting better every day. So, I mean, it's just such a great culture. It's a joy to watch. It's a joy to cover. We'll probably do a podcast after the season, just a trip down memory lane. But for tonight, what do you think some of the keys are to this matchup? Gonzaga is obviously a historically great offensive team. It looks like Baylor's playing back to the level where, arguably the best defense in the country. I think Coach K on a serious podcast that in 47 years of coaching, he'd never seen defense like Baylor played against Villanova in the second half. I mean, that's an incredible statement from a Hall of Fame coach, maybe the best ever, to coach the game.
There's been a lot of bulletin board quotes that Baylor can really use in recruiting, I think, from some of these opposing coaches. Mark Few said yesterday that Baylor was a legit powerhouse in college basketball now. And even though we know it here as Baylor fans, to have him say that and have the whole country hear it, is pretty cool. So, when I look at this Gonzaga team, the thing that scares me the most, just because of the matchup and the personnel, is just Timmy down low, just operating and kind of having his way in the paint. I just think that's going to be really tough for Baylor to stop. I think they've got to find, as you said earlier, I won't take credit, just find a way to make him uncomfortable, find a way to try to keep him from catching the ball, or there were so many times when he just would catch that ball one-on-one against UCLA. And it just looks so easy, it's just all automatic. So, maybe he's going to get his, someone's going to, score 20 plus for them, and maybe probably that's him. But I think that's one of the big keys. Well, what are some of the things you're looking at?
No, I think that's the big key for me is making it work extremely hard on defense. Watching that UCLA game, Jaime Jaquez, I think that's how you pronounce his name, number 4 for UCLA, was able to take Timmy and Kispert off the dribble and create some problems, make them work harder. Some of Timmy's foul trouble came, from helping, in those situations. So I think if Matt Meyer may be a real key to, he's a similar skill set, a better player than Jaime, in my opinion. So if he's able to, take those guys off the dribble and create some mismatches and get to the foul line, dump off to John, John gets, I think 6 or more free throws for John would be a key also. If we can get the guys in foul trouble and, get them thinking and playing a physical game, it's to our advantage because they don't have much depth behind him. They bring in Antoine Watson, but he's a guy, it's funny, like Mark Vidal, his numbers efficiency wise go up in these the better the competition, the better Mark Vidal's efficiency numbers. And Antoine Watson's a guy that's seen a big drop off in efficiency numbers against top competition.
Well, with Vidal, I feel for him because, he's been here 5 years, and I just feel like this has not been a good tournament for him because of foul trouble. And I feel like with all he's put into the program, he deserves to go out on a personal note a little better. And I hope this is the game for him. And, if you think back 2 years ago, and I know the personnel is different, things of that sort, but he was really playing well against Gonzaga. I guess that was 3 years ago. No, that was 2 years ago. Yeah, and really playing well. And then he got a really tough, I think it was 4th foul call early in the second half. That was tough. So he's had success against these guys, and should be raring to go and confident. And I don't know. I just think he's riled up and ready to leave it all on the court. And hopefully the refs, he's got to do a better job, as you said, of staying in front of guys and if he gets beat, not slap him on the elbow or whatever. But I just feel like he'll be riled up tonight, and I just gathered that from talking to him.
Yeah, no question. And I think, another key is limiting Gonzaga's transition points. They're one of the best teams in the history of college basketball at after made baskets, pushing the pace quick. They don't turn you over that much, but Jared specifically can be a little sloppy with the ball at times. And we just can't give them, runaway layups and dunks. They're incredibly fast in transition. They get easy, points in the paint. And if Baylor can limit those, I think, to 10 or less, they average 27. So that's a big task. But if Baylor could really limit those, I think, the Bears have a really good shot of winning this game.
They average 27 in transition, 27 points a game.
I think that's the number I heard. 27 points a game in transition, which is an astronomical number.
Yeah. And, Baylor, let's just face it. I mean, we're sitting here gloating over Gonzaga, which we should. They're phenomenal. But Baylor's really good, too. They do a lot of great things. And the thing they really do well is shoot threes, and at least in some games, most games. And let's face it, I think to win this game tonight, they're going to need to hit, 12 to 14 threes. That would certainly help. They can't hit 6. I don't think going 6 to 26 is going to do it. But they got to get hot from the outside, and they got the guys to do it. And also, I mean, I think it's really been encouraging, what we've seen from Baylor's bench. They had that little spell kind of toward the end of the Big 12 and then in the Big 12 tournament where they just weren't giving you anything. Right. I think last game, John, that was the first time he had reached double figures since December 29th. Obviously, Matt is playing really well and Flagler. So, man, we said early in the season, I remember we were here for that Illinois game, in Indianapolis back on December 1st or whatever it was, December 2nd. And I remember Flagler coming in and scoring about 19 or 17. And we just thought, man, the difference in this Baylor team, the thing that separates them is they're not 5 or 6 deep. They're a solid 8 deep. And we're seeing that. That went away for a while, and they were still mustering some wins and eking out some wins. But when they got those 8 guys going, they're tough.
Yeah, no, and you got to say Baylor has the advantage in the backcourt. As great as Gonzaga's backcourt is with Nimbard and Suggs and IE, Baylor having 4 and having Davion Mitchell, who I would argue is the best guard in this game. Jalen Suggs may be the number 1 pick in the draft, but I think that combo of Mitchell and Butler and Teague, is a better combo than the 3 that Gonzaga has. Then you bring Flagler off the bench, so that's just an advantage for Baylor. But obviously the advantage for Gonzaga is Timmy and Kispert, and Kispert's ability at 6'7" to stretch the floor and really drive to the basket. I mean, those two are, 19 point per game scorers. And that's rare to have such a great backcourt and then have 2 incredible offensive players like them. But Baylor's bench is better and Baylor's got to really take advantage of their bench depth. And, I think if this game is called closely, like if there's a lot of fouls called, in a way that favors Baylor because you can get some of those starters in foul trouble, but it also makes it more likely that it's not a high scoring game. So, probably the tighter, it makes it more likely that it is a high scoring game is what I meant to say. If they let them play, it could surprise us and go the under, more like a Villanova Baylor vibe. But if they call it a little tighter, then it'll definitely get in the 80s, I would think. Yeah.
I mean, I do think that as good as Gonzaga is, it's been a while, if at all, this season since they've seen a defense like that they're going to see tonight. And I don't know. I mean, they certainly didn't see it in their conference. I feel like for the most part in the tournament, UCLA was really good the other night, but it was still, in terms of just the defensive intensity Baylor's going to bring, that's just something they haven't seen. Now, these are all high-level players. I'm not saying they can't adjust to it, but what I like about Baylor's mentality too right now is I think they wanted Gonzaga to win that game the other night. I think, a lot of times fans, you're thinking, oh, let's hope Gonzaga gets knocked off. And, that'll make our path easier. And although UCLA was really darn good, but I think Baylor deep down is glad they're playing Gonzaga. I mean, they want to play the best. They want to win this title by beating the best. And that's what we've got. And, it's what a great deal, man. I mean, like how many times does college basketball does the season truly end with the two best teams? I mean, that's what you always want, but it rarely happens in the tournament where the two best teams are actually there playing at the end. But that's what we've got this time, and I couldn't be more excited.
Yeah, I agree with you. I just was looking up the stats. I know you live and die by stats and efficiency numbers and so forth. I'm kidding, but Kansas, had a really good defense this year, but at the beginning of the year they did not. I mean, they got better as the year went along. Virginia did not have their typical great defense this year. They were not even in the top 35 in defensive efficiency. So the only elite defensive team that Kansas has gone up against is USC.
Gonzaga, yeah.
And USC, I mean, I was just shocked at how just unprepared or, just like unwilling to, take on the fight, they were in that game. I actually expected that to be a close game. And I would have expected UCLA to be more of the blowout, going into those two contests. But, I do think that, like you said, going up against this defense and, Baylor's efficiency ratings don't really tell the story of how great this defense is. The defense has been spectacular in the tournament. And if I'm trying to be unbiased, which of course I do, I have biases, but I think this is a toss-up game. I mean, the line is 4.5, 5 is 4.5, but that's taken into account, Baylor's COVID pause. Baylor is certainly playing like they were in the beginning of February, after Texas. And at that time, all the efficiency ratings were, Baylor and Gonzaga were neck and neck. In fact, Baylor was actually ahead of Gonzaga in the efficiency ratings at that time. And if you look at just the tournament, Baylor's ahead of Gonzaga in the efficiency ratings, the advanced stats just for the tournament.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
Yeah. So it's a toss-up game. I mean, I don't think, the 4.5 line is indicative of how close this matchup is on paper.
Yeah. It's neat to see too, because I think going into the tournament, all the commentators and the national people were like, it's Gonzaga to lose, it's Gonzaga and everyone else. And I think through these last 5 games, Baylor has, catapulted itself back up into that slot right alongside them in everyone's mind. And I think now people would agree with you. I mean, a lot of people are picking Baylor in this game, which they might not have picked Baylor, 3 weeks ago. So, no matter what happens, this program and this team has earned the respect of everyone. And it's just so nice to, some of the same people that used to rip on Baylor to me or text to me and saying, hey, your team is awesome and good luck. And, I meet these Gonzaga fans and they're like, wow, Baylor's so good. You know what I mean? And there's just a respect. It's great to see, especially when you consider all the crap that, we've heard for 18 years or whatever. And to finally see on a national level, it's finally flipped. And Scott Drew has this program at just the reputation is just tremendous. So it's awesome.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of mutual respect. And I think there's also a lot of Indiana Hoosier fans that are going to be in the arena tonight or the stadium, I guess I should say, that are going to be rooting for Baylor because they don't want to see that 1976 Indiana's undefeated.
I didn't think of that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think they're rooting that Baylor pulls this off. Do you think the pressure of being undefeated is going to have any impact on the game whatsoever tonight? Or is that more probably that game against UCLA and tonight it's just like,
I don't really think the undefeated. I think there's just pressure to win the title at this point and pressure to live up to that, their billing, but I doubt it. I doubt it's more about winning the title now for them. The undefeated thing probably, hovered over them during the regular season and the conference tournament, but I don't know. I don't think so now. So,
well, 2 things to watch for, in my opinion.
Go ahead.
One is, Andrew Nembhard. A lot of people talk about the matchup of Jalen Suggs and Davion Mitchell, and they'll probably be on each other quite a bit. But Andrew Nembhard is actually their top assist guy in the tournament and is a lot more efficient. He doesn't turn it over as much. So, I do expect him to be on the ball, maybe perhaps a little bit more than Suggs is, but like Baylor, it's a dual point guard situation. So Suggs and Nembhard for Gonzaga, Butler and Mitchell for Baylor will control the ball a lot. And then, two of the most underrated players in the nation that don't get enough love is Joel IE. He averages 7 rebounds a game, terrific defensive rebounder. And Maceo Teague. Maceo, and the thing about Maceo that Charlie Melton told us in an interview we did with him is just how elite his endurance is and how he is still playing at a peak level at the end of a game, whereas, other guys maybe at 85% or 90% because of fatigue. But we've seen that in the last few games. We saw that in the Arkansas game where he hit some big threes. We saw that in the Houston game, even though the spread, was certainly huge. I mean, he had 11 second half points. What are there any players that you kind of expect maybe to have a breakout game, or what are you watching for tonight that might be a surprise to the average fan?
I think Matthew Meyer is a guy that is going to come out just eager to, not prove himself, but eager to play well and maybe expose, like you said, some matchup problems. And, maybe he's thinking he can play himself into the draft. I don't know, but in games or moments like this, but I think he'll be a factor. And to me, I think just like we've said all along, I think Butler is a huge key. When he's playing at an All-American level, man, this is a tough team to beat. And he was the other night for the first half. Yeah. But then he took one shot in the second half. It was just kind of weird. You score. So it doesn't matter. I mean, you're up by 25 points, but hopefully he can, dial it up the whole game. And it's the national championship game. Of course he's going to. So, but he needs to be playing at a high level. And to me, I mean, if he misses the first shot or two, I don't care. I mean, I hope he shoots through whatever slump he's in, you know what I mean, in the game. Right. I mean, like, just because you miss a shot or two, I don't want to see him all of a sudden become tentative. I mean, he's gotten this team here, and now he needs to play with aggression and play like an All-American, and I think he will. So those are two guys I think that if they are playing at a high level, both of them especially, they're going to have a good chance to win the game.
Yeah, I agree with you. Two stats about Matthew Meyer that may surprise you. I put in this how they match up preview. One is he is the best defensive rebounder on the court tonight by percentage per minute. So he's an outstanding defensive rebounder. And the second is he's number 1 in steal percentage per minute. He'll be on the court tonight. So he, even though he hasn't played big minutes, sometimes only 15 minutes a game, 20 minutes a game, he brings the productivity. He definitely does some things that other than scoring, he does rebound defensively really well. He has a great steal percentage. He's had a terrific tournament and just a great season in general. But So any other parting comments before we call it a wrap?
No, I think I'm going to try to go to the gym.
I'll meet you there. You got to get a workout in before the game.
I got to do something, to get my energy back. But I tell you what, man, I'm excited about tonight. Think about all the games and moments we've been to covering Baylor and as a media member or a fan or whatever, and this is as big as it's ever been. And I'm proud of my alma mater, and it's exciting.
Great PR for the school, great accomplishment for Scott Drew, this whole staff, the culture that they built. The future is very bright for Baylor basketball. Absolutely. And obviously it would be even brighter if they're the first team since 1966 from the state of Texas. I think Texas Western won it in 66.
Texas Western was in 66, yeah. I'm not sure of the year, but it's something.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if the year's right, but I know Texas Tech had that opportunity to do it, and they blew a lead late, and Virginia beat them. But Baylor is able to cross the finish line here. It would be historic for Texas basketball as well. So I know all of our rival fan bases are rooting for the Bears with just like we would be rooting for them. Well, you've been listening to the Sick'em 365 podcast with Ashley Hodge and Jason King, Sick'em Bears.
Sick'em Bears.